Finding deals is only half the battle. Getting to the seller first is what wins. In this session, PropStream shows you how to combine powerful property data with BatchDialer to build smarter lead lists, skip trace faster, and start more conversations that turn into closed deals. Let's go.
Well said. I don't think I've ever done an intro for Burton. Burton, he beat me by a lot. So there you go.
Yeah, usually when we do our thing, I just go straight into it. So maybe that's my fault. I probably don't give you the opportunity to do an intro.
I'll take responsibility. So where do you want to lead us? Because PropStream has so many angles to this. You have data for, you really have data for absolutely everything I can think of. And
yeah, let's definitely talk about that and some of the key features of that. And then I can kind of talk up Dialer at the very end. Hard to really give you a BatchDialer demo only because you actually have to use it to actually present it, which I won't be doing, but I'm going to be talking about some of the key features that I think are very important for those that are scaling to that point. So let's get started here. Let me share my screen just to have a few slides to show just to get the point across. So I don't like PowerPoint, so I kind of hate it when I have to use it. But yes, my name is Burton Alicando. I'll be your presenter today.
I'll be your guide. You almost said guide. You almost said guide.
I'll be your tour guide today. If you guys have any questions, please ask in the chat because I want to make sure I clear up the fog for you. But what is PropStream? Let's start with that question. If you were to ask me, I'd say PropStream does two very important things for your real estate business. The first one being, where am I here? The first one being, if I can find this, there you go. Analyzing a property. We all need to do that eventually when we come across a lead, right? So
all the time
in PropStream, you're going to be able to search vacant land, commercial buildings, residential properties, that quadruplex, that mobile home. You can either pull up the property by typing in the address or just zoom in on the map and click on that parcel. Now, what's our job when you do that? Our job, and we've been doing this since 2006, so what is that? I'm not good at math. That's 20 years. Holy moly. For the last 20 plus years now, we've been trying to gather you this data when you pull up a property. So you type in an address, and today we're going to supply you with property details, PropStream Intelligence data. We do have our own AI. And long story short, with the PropStream Intelligence, there are three components in the property details that you'll have access to. One is photo grading. We have instructed our AI to look through all of our MLS photos and grade them. So that way you don't have to go through 30 plus photos. We can tell you whether the interior is in great condition or in disrepair, the exterior, the bathroom. So very powerful stuff. We can also tell you how close a property is to foreclosure or the direction, like whether it's very high to foreclosure, maybe very low, maybe you're trying to stay away from a property heading in that direction. So our AI data not only analyzes pictures and grades them for you, but it also takes into account auction data, foreclosure data, and then combines that data in that market to the address that you're pulling up to let you know, hey, this property has some similarities to properties on the pre-foreclosure category. So that's our PropStream Intelligence. And last but not least with that, we added a PropStream Intelligence Chat feature within the property detail. So if you're lost when you're pulling up a property, use our PropStream Intelligence chatbot. Ask it to run comps for you. Ask it, if you want to ask if the owner has multiple properties, you can do that. And I'll show you guys a live example in just a second. So property details, PropStream Intelligence, demographics, my favorite feature. It actually can show you things like income levels, how many people per household. And my favorite part of the demographics is how many owners and renters are in the neighborhood, because then that can help you potentially determine the best exit strategy for this asset or provide the best strategy to the homeowner that you're working with if you're a real estate agent. Mortgage information.
Pam's got a good question for you, Burton. Does this run comp? Does the run comps function in non-disclosure states?
Absolutely, and that's actually number 6. You can run comps using public data or MLS data. And because we're nationwide, that means you have access to MLS data in markets like Texas, Utah, Kansas, just a few of those non-disclosure states. But we have, again, MLS data in every state. So to answer your question, Pam, yes, you can run comps in a non-disclosure state as well. So great question there. And then number 7, you can buy documents and use our rehab calculator. So this is PropStream. This is actually what it's going to look like when you first log in. You'll get our update pop up talking about some new stuff that we introduce. On the left-hand side is your toolbar. We start you with the search page because we think you're pulling up a property, or we're going to talk about this in a few moments, maybe you're building a list in PropStream. We do have some resources for you in case you get lost along the way. At the very bottom, you have our help button. So if you need video tutorials, maybe you want to join a live webinar that we're hosting, or maybe you want to do our online academy, which is a free online course, you can do that. We also have chat support, customer emails, and an 800 number. So if you just want to talk over the phone for the next hour just to get your thing situated in PropStream, we don't mind. So give us a call. But let's do this. Let's get a volunteer really quick.
Volunteer.
Someone put in a city in the chat, and what I'll do is I'll pull up that city and we'll just click on a random parcel in that city so that you can see what it looks like pulling up a property in PropStream.
All right, we got city and state. Come on, everybody. Let's have some fun.
The first one I see is the first one I search.
State. Oh, there you go.
Okay, Wesley Chapel. I don't think I've ever searched Wesley Chapel. Are we talking about Florida, Wesley Chapel?
We're gonna find
I'm
out.
gonna assume Florida.
Yeah,
we're definitely gonna find out. All right, so let's do Florida. Let's assume the answer is Florida here. So when we pull up a market, again, normally you would type in the address, but because I don't know of a property in Wesley Chapel, well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna zoom in, and I'm gonna go ahead and click on a parcel over here in the valley area. And so here's what happens when we click on a parcel. You're not going to only able to pull up the parcel information, but this is what we're known for. This is that list of things I was showing you a few minutes earlier. So here's a quick breakdown. Address at the top left, tools at the top right, like our rehab calculator, our fix and flip calculator, our rental analysis calculator, an ADU calculator, or if you want to invest in this property yourself, we have a partnership with LoanGeek if you want to try to get approved on a loan for this property. You can print the property. This is very important. A lot of people love our data and they want to export our data. If you're ever in a property and you need the property's information, just hit that print button and we'll generate a CMA report for you.
Oh, wow.
You literally just take all of our data and put it on a PDF so that way you could send it to the owners, you can send it to your buyers, maybe your contractors if you're working, whoever needs this report. So I would say that print button is a very popular feature.
Yeah, it is.
In the dead center, you have our dashboard. It shows you a satellite image of the property. If the property has photos, like it's been on the MLS, we're going to show you those photos first, so you'll have access to that. But in this case, this property has been owned for several years, and it looks like we only have just the satellite photo of the property. But that dashboard not only will show you the photos, it'll show you the property characteristics, property type. This is a mobile home in here. It's individually owned. I don't have to worry about the HOA. It's owner occupied. So if I go knock on the door, that owner should be there. And occupied. This right here means, are they answering their mail? One of the data sources that we have is the United States Postal Service. So we know who's answering their mail. That would be called occupied, and who's not. That would be considered a vacant property. So you have your property summary in the first box, your value summary, this year's value, last year's value, and how that's trended over the last 5 years. The mortgage and debt summary. So this actually will show you up to 4 open mortgages if a person has 4 open mortgages. In this case, we only have 1. Any involuntary liens, HOA liens, child support liens, tax liens, and then the last time it sold and all that information. Equity amount is calculated. We can show you how many other properties this person owns, the wholesale price, the monthly rent. This is just the dashboard. And I would say usually when you pull up a property, your eyes typically hover here first. And we believe most of the information you need, like does it have equity? Is there a note I need to worry about? How many years has this person owned this property? Is typically found here. But if you just need more information, on the bottom half of the property details page, starting with property details is the owner's name, property characteristics, the land and location. Like in this case, I can get the zoning information, tax information, and then get a load of this. No two properties are ever the same. So right after property details, we'll let you know if we've caught a situation happening with that property. Like in this case, in 2019, the owners filed for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Don't know why, but might want to bring that up during your conversation. Maybe that's the reason for a sell too. Now, here's something I want to share with you. What's happening to this property is not happening to the property across the street. So while I go to across the street and pull up the neighboring house, you'll notice with Brian's house here, he doesn't have a bankruptcy tab. That's because in the last 7 years and 6 months, Mr. Brian here hasn't gone through bankruptcy. So we're going to populate tabs because of a situation that our property is going through. You always want to make sure if you see a tab between property details and comparables, you click on it, okay? That way you can see what's going on and help that homeowner even more, or at least understand the situation they might be going through. The tabs that you'll probably see are bankruptcies, liens, pre-foreclosures, MLS, cash transactions, just to name a few tabs that you might see when you're in a property details, okay? Now, after viewing the property details and then viewing those situational tabs, in this case, Brian doesn't have any, the next area would be your comparables. And I think Pam was asking about this earlier. When you're in the comparable section, we're going to give you several options to choose from. Comparables is our most popular one, but if you want to see who's buying and flipping properties around that house, you can, because maybe your end buyer is going to be a flipper. Here's 6 great options to choose from. Neighboring records, you might be in a cul-de-sac, gated community, and maybe you're just going to use the neighbors to run comps on that property. Or maybe this property is falling apart and it only can be sold in an as-is position. Well, here are tons of cash buyers who are comfortable buying as-is properties. So we don't know the situation that you're in. Our goal is to just get you the data so that you can pivot. Let's assume this is a non-disclosure state. How would I run comps? Well, I would go into the comparables, and non-disclosure state usually means I can't use public records. So let's just isolate MLS records. Not only can you choose what data set you need to use for comping, but we also provide you filters right below. And not only do you get filters, so being that we're comping a mobile home, I can tell PropStream I only want residential and I only want mobile homes. And as you can see, it isolates those mobile homes for me. Not only does it show me I have 2 MLS sold properties that are mobile homes, but I can see their characteristics, see how similar they are to the subject property. And what I love the most are the photos. Being able to see, okay, well, why did this mobile home sell for $265? What does it look like? And then I can make that true comparison between 2 assets, the one I'm working with and the one that just sold right down the street. That's $265 and here's $267. So even though I'm not in this market, I now know what a mobile home needs to look like in order for it to go on the market and sell for around $260 in this area. And if you like your comps, here's the last thing I would tell anybody to do. Once you filter out your comps, highlight them, and then generate that comp report. You actually can take this information, put it on a PDF file, and now you can hand it off to the homeowner to educate them, or maybe encourage a buyer to look at this asset in a different lens because there's value in it. But this comp report slaps the asset that you searched and the sales onto a given page. And that way you can show the owner, hey, look, the lowest value comp was $265, the highest was $267. However, that $267 had 4 bedrooms. Yours does not, so I'm not too sure if we'll be able to get that price, but if you want to list it for that price, let's go for it, right? So again, it's always about educating, and I think our data can help you a lot with that. So that's our comping. And then to wrap up the property details, we have the demographics, as I mentioned earlier. This shows you owners versus renters. In this case, an 80% owner environment within a 1-mile radius. If I'm the investor here, what do you think I'm going to do with this asset when I acquire it from you? I'm probably going to renovate it and fix and flip it, right? Now, being that it's a mobile home, might be a little bit difficult to do certain renovations, but you get the idea. This lets me know what that makeup is and how I should pursue or how I should move with this asset going forward. Tax information. One thing that's cool about the tax information, good old Brian here doesn't have it, but let me share with you guys what we've done with the tax data. Our team has been able to reverse engineer the tax address. Let me click on a cash buyer here to show you what I mean. We've not only been able to capture the tax address, but we've been able to reverse engineer it so that we can not only show you the tax address, but we can also show you the linked property. So like this particular owner has 7 other assets attached to their tax address. So if I'm talking to them about this property and they're like, no, I'm not interested in selling this property, I can immediately pivot and say, well, what about the one off or in College Point, the one that's on
Dude,
13th Street?
now that's exactly why I said people should be looking at this and Power ISA together. Because if Power ISA is reaching out to this list of people, like you've got the right script now. It's like, hey, not that property. Well, I see, you own, and I don't know how creepy you want to be, but I see you own 7 others, right? Or maybe you could just say, do you own any other homes, right? But regardless of that, this is pretty powerful.
And I think this is powerful for a lot of different real estate professionals. If you're a real estate agent looking for someone who might need to sell more than one property, linked properties is a good thing to see. If you're an agent looking to build a really strong buyer investor relationship, this case, we have a cash buyer here who has multiple property. Don't you think they're going to keep adding to their portfolio? So this is, if I was a real estate agent in this market, I would be definitely trying to see who this person is and try to establish that personal relationship, because then I can continuously feed this investor more assets throughout the next few years. That's a constant business right there. And finally, if you do other things, like maybe you represent property management groups, asset protection, there's a lot of things that you can see here that maybe they need to consider.
Burton,
So,
couple of questions really quick, just because
yeah.
You've got only about 3 or so minutes. Kimberly brings up a good question. She says, can you search by those filings or just filed bankruptcies? But to answer her
Yes.
question, I want you to go really quick through all of the different things people can search for, because every time I do one of these with you, you always show me something I didn't know, because there's
I
just a
love
lot of data,
that.
man.
So yeah, and that's why we started there, is because that is really the hardest part of PropStream, is gathering all that scattered data throughout the world and then putting it on one page that you can see what Mr. Edmond is going through. But to answer your question, that's the biggest part of PropStream, in my opinion, is that I'm able to search any market nationwide, Wesley Chapel in this case, and use that filter menu. And this is the true power of building your own off-market lists so that you can control the contract. So you go into any market, West Chapel in this case, and in our filter menu, we're going to give you 20 different categories. Someone mentioned bankruptcy. So yeah, you can select bankruptcy if you like and identify the 28 assets that are going through that bankruptcy. Not only do you have 20 different categories, from bankruptcies to pre-foreclosures to deceased owners and tired landlords, but you get to control the property type. Everything that you saw a few moments ago in the property details can be filtered. And that's why I started there, because not only can you use PropStream to, research properties and underwrite them using our comping section, but if you don't have an asset right now, use our filtering menu. Look for that bankruptcy that's a residential property. Make sure it's off market by going to our MLS filters. And maybe you prefer to speak to an individual, so you can select the type of owner that you're looking for in our owner section. We have the lien bankruptcy filters. So here you can specify the type of chapter of bankruptcy you're looking for. Someone asked that question. You can tell us whether you want high or low equity. And last but certainly not least, we're starting to see people utilize mortgage filters for their search, like who has a VA loan, because we specialize in military men and women. So over 165 plus filters for you to choose from. And then once you apply your filters, we will narrow down those 26 assets that are off market, individually owned, with a bankruptcy in this case. And then once you have your lists, you're able to export that data out of PropStream, or just some other important features here. We
You know
have
what I
skip
would do,
tracing.
Burton? I would export my list and then import it into Fellow. And then
There.
Fellow can give me
Ooh,
all of
I
Fellow can give me
like
the hand
that.
raisers, the emails go out, and then I'm like, at this point, I'm just there for the end. It's like the end product. Oh, I'll call them. I'll call them.
Yep.
That's how I would use it.
And then to wrap it up, I mean, we have skip tracing. I thank you, Leslie. She answered it for us. We have corporate skip tracing. We'll show you who's on the DNC list or do not call list. Litigators. We'll show you who's a litigator as well when you skip trace. And then if you need marketing, we have postcards and emails. And we did acquire BatchDialer. If you're taking it to that scale, BatchDialer is really the way to go. Not only do we aggressively drop the pricing to be more competitive than the others out there, but there's some features out there that you should need to know about, like auto litigator process. If you upload a list of phone numbers in BatchDialer and you didn't know there's a litigator in there, BatchDialer will automatically remove it for you. So you're not calling someone who may potentially sue you. Phone reputation monitoring will let you know when any of your numbers gets flagged as spam. And then what BatchDialer can do is replace that number for you so that when you're calling the next address, they don't see that spam likely notification that you get on your phone. We also have AI that gives you AI prompts. So when you're talking to someone, it actually can guide you in that conversation. And then my personal favorite, the AI summary. After your call is done, it summarizes your entire call so that you can either coach yourself, hold yourself accountable, or just see where the opportunities were in that conversation. But that's our BatchDialer and PropStream, and that's how those two products coincide with one another.
I love that, man. Look at that. Concise, on point. Burton, thank you so much. Yeah, it's always super great to talk to you.
Always a pleasure, brother. And thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for being here.
Last question, does this work in Canada?
Well, you can be in Canada and use PropStream, but if you're talking about the data, it's US, it's US only.
I like that response. Listen, you can live anywhere, just you have to search in the US.
That's correct.
That's very funny, Burton. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tristan. Have a good one, guys.